Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, by Shem Rakakudash, Barakatham. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to Yahakim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on activistpost.com titled, Russia Tests Hypersonic Avant-Garde State-of-the-Art Projectile and Nuclear-Capable Underwater Drone. And I'm sure a lot of you brothers have heard of the recent successful tests of that avant-garde hypersonic glider. And if you've also been keeping up with the progress of this new weapons system, you'll see that it's a complete beast. And it's beautiful that Yahweh Hashem Yahushai put the spirit on these Russian Edomites to create such an advanced weapon system, because it's going to play a big part in the upcoming destruction of Babylon the Great, which is the biblical name of the United States of America. But what I found particularly interesting about this article is the quotes of some of the Russians in this article talking about this new weapon system. The words in which they chose to describe it fits into prophecy, as we'll see. Russia has tested its hypersonic weapons that Activist Post reported Putin had teased just last week. The hypersonic weapon's name is Avant-Garde, a state-of-the-art hypersonic projectile that can travel at more than 30,000 kilometers an hour, according to Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Borisov, RT reported. Borisov told Rossiya 24 TV channel that the test of the weapon proved the hypersonic glider can travel an incredible speed at Mach 27, stating no known weapon can intercept it from hitting its target. There's almost no missile that can shoot it down at such speeds, Borisov said. He added, any missile defense becomes useless. It is very tough to detect and hit the projectile. And it says as much in my first precept in Joel chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 1 through 8. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And this day of great destruction, when nuclear missiles are going to be shot to the four corners of the globe, is nigh at hand. 2019 was deemed the year of the Charagma, or the year Esau really pushes for that chip, and we know it's pursuant to prophecy that when the mark of the beast, which is that microchip implant, is mandatorily implemented, that shortly thereafter this nuclear destruction will take place. And Yahweh willing, this all happens in 2019, but even if it doesn't, the signs of the times just show that we're much nearer to our salvation than what we originally imagined, Achium. Verse 2, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, speaking of those nuclear missiles, which that avant-garde hypersonic glider is going to be a part of. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. And where it says there hath not been ever the like, it's referring to the fact that these nuclear weapons have come around very recently, starting with those atomic bombs back in the 1940s, and where it says neither shall be any more after it. After this great destruction takes place and the children of Israel are put back up in the power seat, the children of Israel being you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, after we get this world under our subjection, we're going to destroy all these weapons of the heathens, such as these nuclear missiles, tanks, fighter jets, rifles, grenades, what have you. Verse 3, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth, speaking of those nuclear-tipped warheads and the destruction they cause. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. Before those nuclear missiles hit, the land looks normal, and behind them a desolate wilderness. After those nuclear missiles hit their target, it leaves behind a desolate wasteland like that video game Fallout. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Salakia. Like the noise of chariots, on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. And you got to remember that the prophet Joel saw these visions thousands of years ago, so he didn't know what a nuclear missile was, and he described it in what he knew at the time. as horses and horsemen and chariots, weapons of war like those nuclear missiles are. Verse 6, before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. When you look up that word blackness, it pretty much means soot, so people getting burned up in that nuclear fire. Verse 7, they shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks, because those nuclear missiles have advanced guidance systems that'll lead them directly to their targets without a hitch. And not just that, but the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to be on those missiles to reach their targets without any problems. Neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path. Here's the point. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. And that sword is referring to those anti-missile defense systems, such as the THAAD or the Patriot, which are going to completely fail in that day. And what was that Russian quoted as saying? He added, any missile defense, that sword, becomes useless. It is very tough to detect and hit the projectile. For those unfamiliar with aeronautical terms, Mach 27 means that the missile is 27 times the speed of sound. Russian President Vladimir Putin compared the missile to a meteorite, Sky News reported. It heads to target like a meteorite, like a fireball, Putin said. And this reminds me of the star Wormwood in Revelation chapter 8. I'm going to start at verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. And that hail and fire is referring to those nuclear missiles. And they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And that third part of trees is referring to people, because people are symbolically referred to as trees in the scriptures, as it states in Mark chapter 8. I'm going to read 23 to 24. When Yahushua healed the blind man, and he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of town. And when he had spit on his eyes and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw aught. Verse 24, and he looked up and said, I saw men as trees walking. And also this third part of trees is mainly referring to you Edomites, or so-called white people, because according to the Bible, there are three parts, or three sons. The first sons being the sons of God, which are the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The other sons being the sons of men, which are you other heathen nations, such as the so-called Chinese, Arabs, Japanese, East Indians, what have you. And finally, the sons of the wicked, you Edomites, are so-called white people. Verse 8, and the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. So pretty much anywhere you Edomites dwell is going to be hit with nuclear missiles, though not all Edomites are going to be destroyed in this coming destruction. The only place Edomites are going to be completely destroyed is in America, when those 200 million nuclear missiles hit this place and turn it into the biblical lake of fire. And the only way to be saved out of that coming destruction of America is to be an Israelite of the elect who's been beamed up in those chariots. But not just our Edomite land's going to be affected by these missiles. You other heathen nations are going to feel that nuclear fire as well. Verse 10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven. What does that sound like? It heads to target like a meteorite, like a fireball, like a great star fallen from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And when we go to the Strong's for wormwood, it's
Strong's G894. Obscene theon. Obscene theon.
Wormwood, the name of a star which fell into the waters and made them bitter. And think about it like this. When those nuclear missiles hit their targets, there's going to be a nuclear fallout where radiation's going to affect everything in the vicinity. So if anybody were to drink waters or could consume anything in the vicinity of that nuclear detonation, they'd get radiation poison and die. The Avant-Garde was launched from southwest Russia and successfully hit and destroyed a target 3,700 miles or 5,954 kilometers away in the country's far east, Putin said. And we got a video showcasing this Avant-Garde missile. Was that look like an arrow, a great people and a strong. And you can see how in the scriptures, why the prophets refer to these nuclear missiles also as arrows or flying swords. That's not the only weapon that Russia tested. They also ran a test of a Poseidon nuclear-capable strategic drone underwater, TASS reported. This comes after Russia ran a drill flying two of its nuclear-capable strategic Tu-160 bombers over the Caribbean Sea during a 10-hour training mission last week, WSB-TV reported. It's also further worth noting that Putin recently stated that the threat of nuclear war should not be underestimated as tensions have risen between NATO countries and Russia within the past few months. Putin added that the U.S. withdrawal from the treaty could spur a global catastrophe and that he hopes common sense will prevail. And common sense won't prevail because it's all a part of prophecy for there to be a nuclear-armed World War III. Nothing will happen to avert that prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. As it states in Revelation chapter 9, verse 12, one woe or destruction is past, speaking of World War I, and behold, there come two more woes, more hereafter, World War II being past, and this coming third woe. In combination with the socialist nation of Venezuela, which also has sanctions against it by the U.S. government, Russia plans to build a base and a military presence, presumably in response to the U.S. suggesting it will pull out of the INF Treaty in La Orquilla, Venezuela, according to TASS. According to military envoys, Russian authorities have made a decision, and Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro did not object, to deploy strategic aircraft to one of Venezuela's islands in the Caribbean Sea, which has a naval base and a military airfield. 10 years ago, Russian experts and armed forces commanders had already visited the island of La Orquilla, located 200 kilometers northeast of Caracas. Venezuelan laws prohibit the setup of military bases in the country, but a temporary deployment of warplanes is possible. It is the right idea to include Venezuela in long-range aviation missions, military expert Colonel Shamil Gureyev told the newspaper, adding that it was also economically reasonable. Our strategic bombers will not only not have to return to Russia every time, but also won't perform aerial refueling while on a patrol mission in the Americas. Our Tu-160 aircraft arrive to their base in Venezuela, conduct flights, execute their missions, and are then replaced on a rotating basis. This is how it should be done, he said. So as you can see, all these nations are getting geared up for that coming third woe. So brothers, just keep strong and keep pushing this word. And with that, I hope this was an edifying video. So I'm going to say a Baba Ball, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.